Welcome back, everybody. It's a college football betting show on Betting Pros. I'm your host, Scott Bogman. Follow me on the Twitter at Bogman Sports. I'm joined, as always, by Thor Nystrom at ThorKU on the Twitter, and Mike Farrell at MFarrell Sports. 2 R's, 2 L's on the Twitter machine. Guys, week 3 is in the books. Obviously, Colorado was a lot of fun to watch. Thor, what else stood out for you from week 3?
Yeah, that Colorado State one was fun. I was watching LSU and Mississippi State. We got to, reevaluate LSU again. That was a dominant performance. Mississippi State stinks. Wasn't as inspiring of a slate, but luckily this weekend it's going to make up for it.
Yeah, I mean, Farrell, is kind of a sleepy Saturday, I think some people would call it. It wasn't a lot of really good games, but there were some good games on, and the Colorado State game was exciting at the end of the night. Kind of bursted that Colorado betting bubble finally. But I mean, if it didn't come down last week, it's probably coming down this week. So what were your thoughts on week 3 as a whole?
Tennessee sucks. Like really bad. Their defense hasn't improved at all. They can't stop the run whatsoever. Joe Milton is who we thought he was. I thought Tennessee would win and cover this game. They just got manhandled. I guess I could never bet against Michael Penix in the under for yardage since it was like 453 and he got that in the third quarter. And the SEC's overranked. I mean, we've got LSU 12, Alabama 13, Florida somehow behind Tennessee. It's just, these aren't good football teams. They're average. LSU, I guess we're reevaluating. Alabama looked horrible. I'm not impressed with the SEC so far.
Yeah, I mean, Alabama, and it makes the Texas win look way less reputable after seeing South Florida give Bama problems, and now they're going back to Jalen Milroe. So week 4, we've got a ton of ranked games. We couldn't even get to all of them, so we did have to cut some. We have our normal 10 games that we're going to do. But let me remind you guys, are you ready to put your betting skills to the test? Join the Betting Pros College Football Podcast Betting Group. Make your picks all season long, and if you're among the top ROI performers, you could win big. Prizes include a signed Garrett Wilson Ohio State jersey and premium subscriptions to Fantasy Pros and Betting Pros. Just make at least 100 picks throughout the season to qualify. Jump in now at bettingpros.com/college or in the Betting Pros app under College Football Podcast Group. May the best better win. All right, gentlemen, let's step into week 4. I cannot believe it is already week 4, but away we go. Number 16, Oklahoma, 14.5 point road favorites at Cincinnati. 60.5 is the total. Tickets and cash are on OU right now, Thor. Is that direction you're leaning as well?
It for sure is. Yeah, I bought a Oklahoma minus 13.5 ticket on Sunday. I knew this thing was getting over 14. It makes sense. My line on it is Oklahoma minus 14.7. They've looked great so far. Their offense last year, even when they were stinking overall, the offense was good whenever Gabriel played. And now it's even better and he's healthy, of course. The defensive improvement, though, of Oklahoma is what makes them an objective top 20 team. Cincinnati, they've had, they've been up and down with Satterfield so far in the early going. They have had a good performance, but what troubles me here about the on-field handicap, Cincinnati's pass defense, 127th overall against explosiveness. Gabriel and the Oklahoma offense throw downfield all the time, and Oklahoma is an explosive offense. Cincinnati is also dead last in the FBS right now in defensive ISO PPP overall. That's an explosive play metric. Cincinnati gets lit up for big plays all the time. This Oklahoma team fishes for them. Bad matchup for the Bearcats.
Yeah, Mike, I mean, what do you think about this game? Cincinnati seems to be kind of up and down, but like Thor said, they're allowing those big explosive plays. Oklahoma, a big explosive play offense, doesn't seem to match up very well for Cincy.
Yeah, it's hard to bet it against Oklahoma the way they've been playing offensively. I was looking at the over-under at 60.5 and wondering if I should take the over. I'm taking the side here for Oklahoma. The biggest question is how many points is Cincinnati going to score? Because I know Oklahoma is going to score a ton. So if I can get 47 out of Oklahoma, which is certainly possible, Can I get a couple touchdowns out of Cincinnati? I think I can. So I'm leaning over, even though a lot of the money seems to be on the under there. But
Fade the
I'm
public.
fade the public, but also, focus on the side. You want to throw a parlay in there with the over, do it, but focus on the side. Oklahoma. I still don't believe Brent Venables is the solution. I still don't believe this is a great football team. They haven't really played anybody. But, they're scoring a ton of points, and Cincinnati has trouble stopping that. So I think Oklahoma's going to drill.
Yeah, I do too, unfortunately. Number 4, Florida State is a 2-point road favorite at Clemson. 55.5 is the total here. Mike, we'll start with you on this one. Most of the cash is on Florida State, although they did not look good against Boston College last week. How do you feel on this game?
I think that was good for them, honestly. I expected Florida State to cover that 26.5 or whatever it was against BC. BC's looked awful all season long. For some reason, Florida State has trouble up there. Traditionally, they've had trouble in Boston. I think they were getting a little full of themselves. Not arrogant, not over, they needed a little bit of humbling, a little bit of worry. BC had 18 penalties. The 18th cost them a possession. They could have won this football game. So this is just what Mike Norvell needs heading into a big-time, obviously, rivalry game. I'm still not believing in Klubnik. I'm still not believing in that offense. They're still mistake-prone on defense, even though they're super talented. So give me Florida State to win this one, even on the road. I got them winning by probably 4-7 points.
Yeah, we've seen Jekyll and Hyde from Florida State, but it's been just mainly Hyde from Clemson so far, Thor. So what are you thinking in this ACC matchup here?
I can't lay points with Florida State here. I'll say that from the jump. My line is Florida State minus 1.2 in this game. The Clemson team, overall, I agree with how you set that up. But outside of not having explosive plays in the passing offense and then a few too many turnovers so far, some of them have been fluky, but the elevated turnovers, Clemson's been fine. Their defense is still good. The success rate against both the run and the pass, and they've been running the ball well. Will Klubnik pick it up? That we don't know. They have been efficient, though, as a passing offense. You have sort of two different things going on here. Florida State's defensive weakness is they give up too many explosive plays. I think Will Shipley is going to hit a couple dingers in this game, but Klubnik, to this point, has not shown the ability to take advantage of that. But on the other side, Florida State, what has not impressed me at all this year, and surprisingly so far, is the lack of a run game. With Jordan Travis and then Trey Benson, et cetera, et al., those you would think you're going to manufacture a pretty good rushing offense. So far it has been pretty lethargic. If you can only go into a Clemson game on the road and you have to play one-handed on offense, that could be an issue, especially when Jordan Travis, the guy who's directing the show of the passing attack, which you're going to need to win this game, is right now dinged up. They say Jordan Travis is going to play. Jordan Travis is going to be fine. But he did not look the best in that Boston College game. He did not look 100% healthy in that game. So those would be the things to watch out for here. But much as I hate to say it, I would lean Clemson in this one.
All right, let's go over to number 15, Ole Miss at number 13, Alabama. Alabama is somehow a touchdown favorite in this, -7. 55 is the total here. Tickets and cash leaning towards Mississippi and the over on both sides here, Thor. Alabama going back to Jalen Milroe. They tried Buckner last week. Didn't work. South Florida looks strong against them. I don't know. This is definitely, like in the recent Nick Saban era, the worst Alabama has looked overall. I've seen some Alabama fans saying, the Nick Saban era is over. I don't know about all that, but I don't know. I know that I will not lay points with Alabama at home against Ole Miss. That's what I know. How do you feel about this game?
Yeah, the last game we talked about, that was a lean for me. This one's not. I purchased tickets on Mississippi on Sunday, both the line, the money line, and I'll be adding more this week. Mississippi's going to win this game. Alabama, everything I talked about over the summer has come to fruition, and more so. My biggest future ticket in college football this year from over the summer was the Alabama under 10.5. This is not the same Alabama. And by the way, easy bet, easiest bet I made this summer. This is not the same Alabama team that we have seen in recent years. There's a number of reasons for that. We don't need to get into all of them. But the upshot here is that roster, the talent is down, particularly at key positions, but they all sort of go hand in hand. You have an uninspiring wide receiver group, an uninspiring offensive line. You don't have a quarterback on that roster that should be an upper-level Power 5 starter. They have a bunch of G5 guys. The running game, you're having to mix and match. You don't have the stud there. And the defense is down. And, of course, you have 2 new coordinators as well. They always have the revolving door of assistant coaches. That team is down, whereas Mississippi, this is the nadir of what Lane Kiffin has been building towards with all of his portal ads, everything like that. This is the best team he has had so far. For me, this game, the line on this game should be Alabama -3. It is only elevated because of the name brand. I think Lane Kiffin goes in there and gets the upset of Nick Saban that he's been looking for in Tuscaloosa.
Farrell, do you agree with that? Do you think Ole Miss comes in here and beats Alabama at home?
Man, it's hard because, I mean, it's still Nick Saban. I was very disappointed in how they played last week. Of course, I thought they would come back, drill USF, prove that they're still Alabama. And, everything Thor's saying is what we've been saying since the Texas game. Texas had a better roster, and you just don't say that. I've been doing roster analysis and top 5 of rosters since 2010. Alabama's always been 1 or 2 in college football, and they aren't in the top 5 this year. There's just there's a dearth of talent, and it's still talent. This isn't, I always say Kansas, but I can't because they're undefeated.
You can't say it anymore, Farrell, can you?
Oh, no, and I always say Rutgers, but they're undefeated. I don't know. Somebody who really sucks. How about that? I don't want to pick a team right now because, it's just one of those. I mean, Vanderbilt,
you can say Arizona State, Farrell. It's okay.
No,
you can say Arizona State.
No, Kenny Dillingham, he's gone through 7 quarterbacks in the first 3 weeks. I will not do that to Kenny Dillingham.
Dillingham going to go 1-11 this year, Farrell.
I will not do that to Kenny Dillingham. I'll stick with Vanderbilt. That's low-hanging fruit. So, anyways, I don't know if Ole Miss is going to win this game, but there's no way Alabama should be favored by a touchdown. Absolutely not. If they're going to revamp that offense, they're going to play more to Monroe's strengths. They should have done that from the very beginning. They had the entire offseason to do that. They have to, include more RPOs, more options to get him outside the pocket. He's not comfortable with his feet set throwing the football. You got to get him in space. They're going to do a better job of that. He's the answer. I mean, Ty Simpson isn't ready, and Buckner has never been ready. So he's the answer. But there's no way they should be favored by a touchdown. This is overrated. Now, again, this is the SEC that's overrated overall. I'm still not buying Ole Miss as this juggernaut. But this is, as Thor mentioned, this is branding. This is 5 or 6 points, maybe 4 for Alabama because they're Alabama. So take Ole Miss. I don't know if they're going to win, though. Thor's pretty positive they're going to win. He's money line.
I am.
That's pretty impressive right there because what you're going to get a nice little, not a super fat plus, but you're going to get a plus on that money line. I'm taking Ole Miss with the 7. I'm not money line.
My Christmas present purchases, my family's going to love it this Christmas. They're going to be paid for by the Alabama Crimson Tide. I have a couple of things with the on-field handicap of this really quick before we move. We were speaking, sort of generally about it. This is the data. Right now, Alabama, in terms of passing success rate, 112th out of 133 teams. And so they have to play the one-handed on offense. With Milroe in there, you can manufacture the run game. As we know, right now they're 46th rushing success rate, 47th in rushing explosiveness, and number 1 in rushing power rate. So they can get the short yardage conversions, whatnot. But the problem is, again, the offense is going to be one-handed again with Milroe in there. You can run, but you cannot pass, and that becomes a much easier offense to defend. And then the other thing is Alabama's run defense is suspect. Their pass defense, they have Kool-Aid, McKinstry, and some of those athletes out there in the secondary is pretty good. They're holding opponents to the number 10 passing success rate. They could hamper and give problems to Jackson Dart here. But Quinshon Judkins, one of the best singular offensive players in all the nation, is going to tee off in this game. Alabama, their run defense, rushing success rate against 51st. and in stuff rate 117th. They're gonna lose the line of scrimmage in this game, and Quinshot Judkins is gonna do the rest.
I mean, I would love to see it. This game feels like such a trap. Alabama has looked bad, and Ole Miss has looked pretty good. It's one of those where you just, through the eye test, you say this is easy, Ole Miss, but I don't know, man. It just doesn't feel good to me. I probably won't be touching it. Let's go to a Pac-12 matchup. Number 10, Oregon hosting number 19, Colorado. Oregon is a 21-point favorite, 3 touchdowns. The over is 70.5 in this game, 70 and the hook, Thor. So how do you see this game playing out between Colorado and Oregon? We kind of bursted the Colorado bubble last week, but this is them as a gigantic dog now. Is Oregon good enough to beat them by 3 touchdowns?
They sure are. Yeah. Particularly without Travis Hunter on the Colorado side. It pains me. I've backed Colorado the first 3 weeks. We are on the other side this week. The line just dropped too low. I think I got Oregon minus 20.5 on Sunday. My line on it is Oregon minus 21.5. And that's in a vacuum with Travis Hunter being healthy. Without Travis Hunter there, this line should be 24 or 24.5. To be honest, Colorado has problems in the secondary now. Dion mentioned after the win over Colorado State that losing Travis Hunter, it's like losing 2 elite players because you lose the elite receiver, you lose the cornerback one. In the secondary is where this particularly concerns me against Bo Nix and a very deep Oregon receiving core, because Hunter's going to be out, and then you're already out Cormani McClain, the 5-star cornerback they brought in this year. He has not played yet. And then Miles Slusher, the longtime starting safety at Arkansas who came in, who is the projected starting nickel in this defense, he has missed the last 2 games. And we don't know if we're going to see those 2 guys either. I think it's going to be really hard for Colorado to force Oregon to punt. And with Shedeur Sanders, of course, you always have the punching chance on offense. They still have 2 good receivers. But without Hunter, you're pretty much down to that. They were trying to get other guys involved in the offense against Colorado State, and they're not the even close to the caliber of player that Travis Hunter is. And you don't stress the defense nearly as much. And their running game hasn't been great to this point this season. I think this is a big time Oregon route of a win here.
Mike, are you on board with that as well? Colorado, they're fun, but it seems like this is coming to an end pretty quick here.
It's coming to an end, but I don't like this line at all. This is the same line essentially that I told you to bet the mortgage on TCU. And we're learning, obviously, TCU is not a good football team, and their defensive backfield, and especially, but their defense is suspect. Oregon's a much better football team than that, but I like the over here. And the reason I like the over, and I don't like the line, 3 touchdowns, you give me, I don't know, maybe 20.5 maybe, but I'm not touching that. And again, I know Colorado is shorthanded. I know how important Travis Hunter is to this team. I know how they're ready to be exposed. They almost were Saturday night. And I know how overrated this team is. You're asking a 1-11 football team from last year to, go into Oregon and win a football game or stay within 3 touchdowns, but it's not the team from last year. Seeing there's more talent, there's more depth. But the over to me, because I think Oregon's going to put up a ton of points, and I think Colorado's going to throw every down. Sanders is going to have a big day, as far as numbers. And I think they're going to be able to put up enough points. It's a huge number. I get it. 50 to 20, and you're coming under. But it's just, I have a feeling, that this is going to be a super high scoring game. I think Oregon's going to put on as many points as they can. Dan Lanning doesn't have an in for Dion, but I think he's sick and tired of all this. I think the world's sick and tired of all this. He made those comments earlier this summer. When's Colorado won anything? I think as much as Colorado's made things personal, I think Oregon's going to make this personal. I think they're going to score like 55 to 60 points. I think I'm going with the over.
Mike, I could not agree with you more. I feel like this game is definitely going over, because I think while Colorado probably can't stop Oregon at all, I think they can score on anybody. Even without Travis Hunter, they've looked good on offense so far and crisp. A little shaky in the first half against Colorado State, but turned it on in the second half. I think we're going to see a lot of that as well. So I'm with you. I think the bet here is probably the over, if anything, in this game. Let's stick in the Pac-12 again. Excuse me. Number 11 Utah hosting number 22 UCLA, another ranked matchup. -4.5 on the Utes side. 51.5 is the total here. Mike, do you have a good lean one way or the other?
I like the Utes. I like the over. Again, I've been Utah since the beginning of the season, Cam Rising or not. I know there's been some struggles. They've looked great at times and looked okay at other times, but just a really good football team, very good fundamentally on defense. UCLA is a solid football team as well. I mean, this is a good matchup. A lot of people are taking UCLA to cover that 4.5. I just believe Utah at home. That's the 4.5 right there to 5 points. It's such a great home field advantage. I think it's the best in the Pac-12 that nobody talks about. And I think this is going to be a higher scoring game than people think. So I haven't really faded on Utah at all. And I'm going to keep riding them. I think, Utah's they're going to win this game by 7.
Thor, your thoughts on UCLA and Utah here?
This game is going to come down to Dante Moore. The metrics, some of them you look into with UCLA, and they all look really good. In terms of offensive explosiveness to this point, they're number 2. Offensive success rate, they're number 18. And their defensive stuff is awesome, 10 and 29 in the 2 categories that I just mentioned defensively. But we haven't seen them play anybody yet. It's been Coastal Carolina, San Diego State, and NC Central was the last time out. They haven't given up more than 13 points on defense. And I had a supposition this was going to be Chip Kelly's best defense over the summer, but I don't know how good it is yet. We need to see them play a real opponent. We're getting closer now with Utah. The reason that Dante Moore is so important is Utah shuts out the lights on any opponent's running game. So Carson Steele and Mr. Harden, I'd be taking their unders in the sports book for this game as far as player props. It's all going to come down to can Dante Moore do anything against what is a more susceptible Utah pass defense. And you can fish for explosive plays on Utah's defense as well. They're going to hinder anyone's efficiency. But if you're clicking, you can hit some of those explosives. Again, that all goes back to Dante Moore as well. Can they get some, when the offensive line picks up the blitz, whatever, and you have a one-on-one look downfield, are you going to be able to hit it? It's just too scary for me to back Dante Moore and UCLA in this spot. A true freshman quarterback who hasn't really played anyone yet, no top 65 SP plus defense to this point, and you've played these 3 cans so far, and now you're going to Utah, and he has to face this vicious defense where the game is going to come down to him. We'll see if that kid's special, but I can't bet on it in advance. For me, this one would be Utah or pass.
All right, let's move on to the next game. But before we do, let me remind you guys to download the free Betting Pros app for iOS and Android. Use Sportsbook Sync to automatically track your bets across all major sportsbooks in one spot. Easily track your bet performance by sport and bet type, including game picks, props, and parlays. Get personalized bet recommendations tailored to your interests, including line alerts. When viewing a game of interest, simply set a game notification so that you are alerted once a line hits a certain number. At that point, you'll be notified so you can lock in your bet at the ideal line. You can set the number to be and set it by Sportsbook. Head over to bettingpros.com/apps to start setting your line alerts now, or download the Betting Pros app in the iTunes or Google Play stores today. All right, gentlemen, let's go over to Arkansas at number 12, LSU. Thor, LSU is a 17.5 point favorite now. 55.5 is the total on this one. Tickets and money are slightly in the favor of Arkansas, but LSU look pretty good. How do you see this game playing out, Thor?
Yeah, they looked really good this past week. I mean, it was just dominant against Mississippi State. And a part of that was the dopey coaches on Mississippi State defensively. Like, they were just sitting everybody. They had the dumbest strategy I've ever seen someone go against a Jaden Daniels offense before. They kept 2 safeties way out in another county back there, and they opened up the entire intermediate area of the field. And all Jaden Daniels, it was just every single snap. LSU even went away from their run game because Mississippi State was just giving them the intermediate area. And every single play, it was just It was sort of like Colorado State with Horton later that night, where it's just a shallow crosser from Malik Neighbors or anything to get him across the middle short. It was a free completion. Then he's just running with the ball afterwards. Presumably, Arkansas will have a better defensive strategy in this game, and their pass defense is okay. They do give up explosive runs, though, so that'll be interesting to watch if Daniels or the running backs they got there. Now Emery is back. If they can get anything there. My concern for Arkansas, in trying to get within this number, it's if Rocket Sanders is out again. We've seen what that offense, I mean, not just this year, not just last week. We've seen it when Rocket has missed games in the past where then it becomes the KJ Jefferson show on offense, and that's not a good thing. Arkansas's passing offense right now is 65th in passing success rate, 73rd in explosiveness. You can get them off schedule pretty easy, and they're not going to come back to hurt you with explosive plays. That's my concern. I'm probably going to be on the sideline of this game, but I don't think I could take the points with Arkansas.
Yeah. Farrell, do you have a good feel here with LSU laying 17.5 at home?
Not a great feel. Rocket Sanders is obviously extremely important. To this offense, I was a little disappointed in KJ Jefferson last week. After the big game against BYU a year ago, he was just very, very pedestrian, very average, wasn't even running the ball well. They game planned for him, perfectly. You just got to let him kind of hurt himself. Let him, just keep him off balance. Don't let him get in a rhythm, and he's not going to be that guy that's going to hurt you. 17.5 seems a lot, though. I mean, it's a divisional rivalry. LSU's kind of up and down. We don't really know. Maybe Mississippi State sucks. They're certainly not as good as I thought they were. They were terrible, just terrible on defense. Arkansas is going to be a little bit better on defense. Not going to allow, completion after completion to the middle of the field. I just think 17.5 is too much. I think LSU is going to win this game, and I think they're going to win it pretty easily. But I don't see 17.5, maybe 14, maybe 15, maybe 17. But I'm taking Arkansas to at least cover that number. I think the coaches are going to be a little bit smarter. They're going to learn from what they saw last week. They can't stop the run, but they'd prefer if LSU ran on them. And I think they're going to, try to play into that. So to me, it's going to be within the 17.5, but don't bet the house on it. I really don't know. LSU, we don't know who they are yet. We still don't know. I mean, They look good. They look bad. They look good. They look bad. But 17.5 is too much for a divisional rival.
I mean, you could describe Jane Daniels' complete collegiate career like that. He looks good, he looks bad, he looks good, he looks bad. It's up and down for sure. Number 3, Texas, a 15-point road favorite at Baylor. 51.5 is the total here. Tickets are split. Money is slightly on the Baylor side. Everything I've seen says take Baylor. I completely understand it because Texas loves to lose a Big 12 game after winning a huge game against Alabama. It's something they do. They drop one to Baylor. They drop one to Texas Tech or K-State or somebody as a Texas fan. I've seen it a million times, Farrell. So in this matchup, can Texas go into Baylor and win by more than 2 touchdowns?
Yeah, they can. And I think the Wyoming game was extremely important. Again, it's like Florida State and Boston College. They needed a game. We knew it was going to be sort of a letdown game coming off Alabama. They needed to be challenged. They needed to be tested into the fourth quarter. They needed people to say they're overrated and Texas sucks and they're not back. They needed that. And I think Sark's going to use that. Baylor is not an impressive football team whatsoever. They don't really have anything that scares me. The roster talent here is ridiculous. When you compare the two, this offense, I'm not enamored with the wide receiver rotation. I'd like to see, a little bit more Xavier Worthy. I don't know. Donnie Mitchell, get those two guys out there, throw them 15 passes each. The other receivers are fine. They're great. That's awesome. But no, target the heck out of those guys.
Outside of just streaks down the middle of the field. Yes. Give them a little more complicated routes.
Get them the ball, and that's nothing against Whitting and all those other guys. But get those two dudes the ball. When you were to sync with them, the offense should dominate Baylor. I'm laying the 15. I believe that Texas last week, that was a good game that was needed. It's the good buffer. They won a huge game, then they blow a game. I know they weren't going to lose to Wyoming, but they were an upset alert. I think that's going to be important. So just with Florida State, same thing. That was the game that's needed. Now they're going to go Baylor.
Thor, what are your thoughts on this game? Because like I said, everything I've read says take Baylor plus the points at home. And I get it because Texas does like to drop one here or there. But like Mike mentioned, that there's just a discrepancy in talent. Texas has lost games in that scenario before, don't I know? But I don't know. This one looks like Texas should win pretty big here.
Yeah, my line is Texas minus 17.8. I have mixed feelings on this game, though. Baylor always plays Texas hard. Baylor hates Texas.
Yep.
This is the show in town for them. So if you're going to get awesome effort for Baylor in any game this year, this would be the one here. But you're just wondering if they have enough. They still have the quarterback injury. I'm not a big fan of Shapen, but Sawyer Robertson, the guy who's played the last couple games, hasn't been very good. He's different than Shapen. Sawyer Robertson he takes more chances for sure. He likes to throw down the field more often, but he turns the ball over more often. And the accuracy to this point has not been good, which I can't put totally on him. The Baylor receiving core is not very good. Like we had all those years with Bryles where every year they had the awesome receiving core. That seems like it's gone away. But Sawyer Robertson at this point, 45.2% completion percentage, 1 to 3 TDI and T rate. Yeah, you wonder about that. And then the running game as well hasn't been great. Baylor's 86th right now in rushing success rate. And what's really disappointing about this Baylor team, the offense is what it is, and you had the quarterback injury, so you can give them an excuse. Dave Aranda's defense at this point is 63rd SP+. You don't associate that with Dave Aranda defenses, but over these past couple of years, you lose Terrell Bernard, you lose Jalen Petrie, you lose Ika, the planet-sized guy in the middle, and they've clearly regressed on defense. They haven't been good this year. The only team they've beaten is an FCS team. They got upset by Texas State in the opener at home. Obviously, they had a better effort against Utah, but ended up losing that one as well. This is a long way to give a short story. I think I'm going to be staying away from this game just because of the potential that their effort is elevated. But in a vacuum, just with the value, the Texas side would have the value here.
Yeah, it's all going to be on Sawyer, the QB for Baylor. I think, like you said, if he hits those big plays because he's taking those shots downfield, they're going to be in this game. But if he's missing those and they're going for turnovers, it's going to be a bloodbath. It's going to not be good. So we'll see how that turns out. Like Thor said, probably watch that one. This one, number 14, Oregon State, a 3-point road favorite at number 21, Washington, another Pac-12 ranked matchup here. The money is on Oregon State. Thor, how do you see this one going?
Yeah, I'm going to be a bystander on this one too. My line is Oregon State minus 3.6, but my concern with the idea of backing Oregon State here is how tough it is to play in Pullman. And if I don't feel like I got real value on the side of the road team that's coming in there, it's going to be really difficult for me to pull the trigger. I've made this point a bunch of times already this season, but Washington State is one of the best covering home against the spread teams over the last decade, just because it's really tough to play there. I love this Oregon State team. Offensive efficiency, number 10 in success rate. They take away your explosive plays on offense. But Cam Ward, his prerogative is to throw short anyway and do the quick hitting stuff and try to get yak opportunities. For me, I'm going to be a bystander in this one. I just don't think there's value on either side.
Farrell, what do you think about this one? Do you have a good lean one way or the other?
It's a tough line. I mean, Washington State beat a Wisconsin team that doesn't look that good and still has to transition to new coaching staff, new offense, all that good stuff. They beat a Colorado State team that had their Super Bowl last weekend and played tough, but we don't really even know how good Colorado is. So I'm not a Washington State believer. I'm not a Cam Ward believer. But Pullman is a tough place to play. We went heavy on them covering against Wisconsin. The 3 points is just a nightmare line because we don't know how good Oregon State is either. I mean, San Jose State, UC Davis, San Diego State don't really give us much. Jonathan Smith's a better coach. This is a better team. if I'm leaning one way, I'm taking Oregon State, but I'm not touching this one either. I mean, it's just too difficult to go into Bowman, and the 3 is just the worst line ever. You know, make it 3.5, make it 2.5, do something for me. I'm not touching this.
So if it moves, if you get a hook,
I would take
if you get this to come down.
Yeah, take Oregon
know.
State. I mean, that's my lean. I'm not touching it though. But Oregon State is my lean. I think they're a better football team. I think they're a better defense, and I think they're a better coach.
All right, let's go to the big dog of the week, number 6, Ohio State at number 9, Notre Dame. Ohio State is a 3-point road favorite in South Bend. 53.5 is the total here. Tickets and cash just slightly on the Notre Dame side, but Mike, this is going to be a very, very good game. Like I said, game of the week here. Do you have a good feel one way or the other in this one?
Yeah, I think Ohio State here. This was obviously the opener last year. Notre Dame game planned very well. Marcus Freeman impressed me as a coach. Ohio State was supposed to drill them. They didn't. I think they could drill them this time. I know Notre Dame has come out strong. I know Sam Hartman's been effective. Estime is, I don't want to use Nick Chubb as an example because of the horrible injury he had, but that guy is Nick Chubb. I mean, he's just a monster to handle.
He's a bruiser. Yeah.
And Ohio State has some defensive deficiencies. The secondary still isn't playing great. And, their front is talented. I mean, they got edge guys that can rush. They don't have tackles that can stop the run. So I think they're able to run the ball effectively. But to me, this is going to come down to, the better roster, the better skills, the better, more speed on offense. Ohio State is going to put it together. They're not going to win this game big. I think they're going to win by 10, 13 points, but I'm laying Ohio State with it.
Thor, you feel the same way? Are you on Ohio State, or you like the Fighting Irish here?
Notre Dame's going to win this game, Mike.
Notre
Dame's going to win this game.
Why? Because of McCord? You don't like McCord? What's the problem with McCord? He's average.
I don't I don't love McCord, but also Notre Dame's pass defense is really good. I think that they can address what Ohio State is trying to do. I think Notre Dame's pass defense, number 2 in success rate right now. Where you would want to attack Notre Dame if you had your druthers would be the run defense, but rushing offense has been Ohio State's weakness to this point. Those are some of my problems. And then the other thing, I don't think people realize how good that Notre Dame offense has been so far. 4 games, all of them, they've gone over 40 points, and they run at, I think it's the 98th adjusted pace in the nation. They're not moving. They're not trying to score like that, in terms of that race to it every single time. But in terms of efficiency and offensive explosiveness, they're top 15 in the country in both those things on a per play basis. They can run the ball, and they're going to force Ohio State to tackle them. They're also, Notre Dame is going to win the line of scrimmage battle here. They have a very good offensive line. So, it's both the Notre Dame's defense can address what Ohio State wants to do on offense, and then the other way around. I think the defense of Ohio State's going to be given some trouble here by Notre Dame's offense.
Are you money line in this?
Yeah.
You are. Okay. So my take on it is just like the explosive team speed at Ohio State, I think, is going to win out here. So it's going to be an interesting game. We definitely disagree on this one. I can't see Ohio State going to South Bend losing this football game. Man, if they do, Ryan Day is in big trouble.
Farrell, come to the Saturday live show, 10 a.m. Eastern to 11:30 a.m. Eastern. Come to that with an idea for a bet for us to make on that game.
Ooh, I like it.
Yeah,
I like it, gentlemen.
It's going to have to be something where, we'll have to get at it.
We need the boxing. We need somebody to make the boxing poster for you guys, too. We need stats and stuff.
Figure this out. We'll have to figure this out.
You got a couple days to figure it out.
I don't think anybody wants to know our height and weight, though. Although Thor's thin these days. He's like super, super trim, but...
I don't know about
that. Thor dropped all the weight this summer, man. He's looking slick right now. Number 24, Iowa at number 7, Penn State. Same line that they had against Illinois last week against a ranked team here, 14.5. Penn State is the home favorite. 40.5 is the total here. Thor, we'll start with you on this one. Money and tickets are on the Iowa side. Not, too favorably, but the lean is towards Iowa here. This is going to be, looks like it's going to be an ugly Big Ten game, but what are your thoughts? Do you think Penn State lays the points here and wins, or are you expecting a more of a gross dogfight game that is low scoring?
Yeah, at 14 or above, this would have been a smash spot on Iowa. They do good in these spots. They do really good as double-digit underdogs. They just muddy every game up, as you guys know. They'll either come down to their opponent, or they'll play up to the opponent, or more accurately, drag the opponent down to their level if they're better. And I've seen them have success in this spot in the whiteout game at Penn State. Like, the Iowa team is a team that is not intimidated by the road environment. They seem to play up because of it. My big concern here, though, why this one I might be on the sidelines of, is because Iowa's offense, already not good, is going to be without their best pass catcher by far in an offense where they funneled the usage to the tight end. Luke Lachey, who I've been banging the drum for as an underrated draft prospect, he is out for the season because of a leg injury that he suffered last week. So Eric All, now he's going to get the tight end looks and stuff like that, and then you're going to have to bring in someone else because obviously Iowa stays in 12 personnel. That's something to watch for here, where I'm not sure how that offense adapts. They don't have too many other directions to go. And then the other thing is their running back room is dinged up. Caleb Johnson, the starter at the beginning of the season, I don't know when he's coming back. He has a lower body injury. He missed the last game. I don't think he plays this week either. And then Ja'Shawn Patterson, the redshirt freshman from Florida that Mike and I had talked about a week or two ago, he had shown something in week 2. He had really flashed, and I was expecting him to blow up last week against Western Michigan. We didn't see that because he was banged up. He's day-to-day right now officially. They still have LaShawn Daniels there, but if Iowa only has the one running back and then they don't have any depth, you're concerned about an injury there, and LaShawn's not as dynamic as the other two guys. So those are my concerns, the Iowa offense, but I don't know that I could lay the points with Penn State here, just with the defense Iowa has, the special teams Iowa has, and how good they play on the road. It's probably going to be a bystander game for me.
Mike, what do you think about this game? Are you on the Penn State side? Are you with Thor and either staying away, or if you're going to do it, take the points?
No, I'm not going on a side here. I don't like the number. I'm going on the under, and Iowa kind of screwed me last week, putting up 41 points. Just ruined my theory of Iowa and Iowa State under all season. And they were losing that game early or struggling early, and they just, for them, against a horrible team, they exploded for points. But as Thor mentioned, they're banged up like crazy, and Lachey is their best pass catcher. I don't think they're going to put up a lot of points, and I think they know it. I think they're going to play their slow, methodical, boring offensive game plan. And Penn State and Aller last week, it didn't impress me much at all offensively. And they, their strength is running the football as well. They got these two great running backs. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I think it's going to be, a clock churner. I think Penn State's going to win. I don't know if they're going to win by 14 or more or 15. I do think it's going to be a low-scoring game, so I'm going to take the under.
All right, gentlemen, that's our 10 games, and I'll ask you both this. We'll start with you, Mike. Anything we missed? Any good leans that you're on? Any strong feelings about any other games that we didn't mention here?
That's a good question. There's going to be a lot of props that I'm going to be looking into. I'm curious to see what the, passing prop for Monroe is. And I think his rushing prop he's going to go over this week. I think the, against Ole Miss, but I think the passing prop is going to be probably set pretty low, and I'm still going to bang the under on it. Other than that, this is a great slate. I'm probably
it's going to be a lot of fun games to watch.
Well, I'm probably going to go on the over on Shedeur Sanders passing, because why not? They're going to have to throw the ball a million times, and even without Travis Hunter, he's going to put up crazy big numbers. So, it's going to be more props for me. These games are juicy enough where you don't really have to focus on anything but these games. But I'm liking me some Duke, lately. They're one of those teams that kind of quietly taking care of business when it comes to the spreads.
Riley Leonard screwed me on the passing yards by 2 last week. It was 220 and a half, and he had 219. I just needed 2 more yards. They had a four leg parlay.
Mike Elko don't care. He doesn't care about offensive numbers at all. But
the whole fourth quarter, they didn't pass the ball. I think they might have passed it one time and missed, but they were up so much they just ran the clock out. Oh man, that one made me so mad.
They're playing my home state UConn Huskies here, and I'm going to lay the number there. But there's such a good slate of games that I don't have to look elsewhere. I'm going to go heavy.
Thor, like I asked for Mike, anything that we missed that you're heavy on, whether it be a game, a total, or props? What do you got?
Yeah, I bet Troy -3 hosting Western Kentucky on Sunday. It's at 3.5 now. I'd still fire on Troy there. My line on it was Troy -4.1. But Western Kentucky, obviously, they're a throw team. Their receiving core is banged up right now. Michael Matheson was already out, and now Delvin Smith. Matheson was out with a hip injury and is out indefinitely. And Delvin Smith now, he missed the last game with a foot injury. So it's really just Malachi Corley there for Austin Reed now. And Corley, he missed a game himself in the first couple of weeks with an injury and was able to come back against Ohio State. But the other big concern with Western Kentucky is their defense, which the last couple of years ranked top 5 in the nation in takeaways, which is one reason they sort of overachieve. They lost everybody over the offseason, and now it's not just they're not taking the ball away anymore. So you had the dramatic regression of that, but qualitatively, it's also weighed down. And so that defense is just cratered. Troy can run the ball effectively, and the passing game, you don't love it when they have to throw in games like that when they're coming from behind. You don't want Gunnar Watson in that situation, but when Vidal gets going, that's when that passing game can open up and Watson can do his, throwing to guys 2 yards in front of the line of scrimmage thing. And they can, try to get you out of the box. And then the quick hitting passing game goes from there. And Troy has a really good defense. They have the guys in the secondary to combat this matchup, certainly with where WKU's receiving core, the straits of it right now. So I'd still be on Troy with where that number is.
All right. Sounds like a plan. Gentlemen, good luck, and we will see you guys next week. Remember, you can follow us all on Twitter at ThorKU, at M Farrell Sports, 2 R's, 2 L's, at Bogman Sports for myself. And we will see you guys next week. Take it easy, everybody.